Hey, this is Ebube Olivia Akueme, and I'm coming to you live from Kent in the UK. How are you today? I hope you're well and you're good and you're having an absolutely fantastic Wednesday. I'm 10 minutes behind schedule and for good purpose. I had something I was going to share and then I just didn't feel like sharing that. Something else was kind of like on my mind and I said, okay, let me take a few minutes and put my thoughts together. And that's why I'm coming on now. Today, my conversation is all about patience, and my question is, do you agree that patience is a key element of success? Do you agree that patience is important? Some people don't necessarily agree, but maybe some people do. I'm of the opinion that anything worthwhile takes patience. And the reality is this. Patience is bitter, very bitter, but its fruit is sweet. The outcome, the produce of patience, of being somebody who is patient, practicing patience, is good, but it's sometimes a very difficult road to walk. And that's the conversation for this evening. So I hope you're well, you're good, you're fine, you're rocking, you're rolling. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're well and you're good. And of course, we're talking about patience today. If you're just tuning in, it's all about patience. How patient are you? When it comes to, the major areas in life, when it comes to handling certain things, it might be running your business, it might be, with your children, with your spouse, or certain relationships and all of that, your finances and so on. Sometimes you're trying to achieve or accomplish a goal. You're trying to do something. You're trying to get to a particular result, and you can't get there if you're not patient, because life is never always straightforward. I mean, sometimes yes, but in most cases no. And it's in those moments of unease, the moment of impatience, the moment where life is asking you to slow down or maybe just wait. I think that's the true test. So there are three things that I want to bring your attention to. That whilst you're practicing your patience, in other words, whilst you're waiting, what do you think you should be doing? What are the things that might help? What are the things that will help you get through those times, those moments of waiting? Because patience is waiting, but waiting doesn't necessarily mean that you're just sitting down, round the corner, you're doing absolutely nothing, you're folding your arms and all of that. That's not what it is. Patience is it's action, it's alive, it's not just sitting around and hoping that things will just turn around. So there are three things that I want to bring to your attention. The first one has to do with the fact that whilst you're waiting, there has to be some kind of action or activity going on. So you don't just wait, okay, I want that particular result or that thing to happen, but I do nothing about it. That's not the way patience works. It means that whilst you're waiting, you're also keeping on with certain level of activity. You're doing things that are in line with the outcome that you seek. So you're not just waiting, you're not just, standing aside, folding your arms, like I said, just sitting around and kind of waiting for the results to, materialize. No, you're actually doing stuff in not just any kind of stuff, not just any kind of action, but you're doing things that are in alignment with the results that you seek. That is one thing that you want to be doing whilst you're waiting. As I said, patience is not easy. Patience is bitter. Yeah, but it's a very key element. It's one of the key elements of success. It's one of the key elements of achievement, because many a times things don't just happen overnight. Sometimes we find that when we come to a certain place, or we're trying to accomplish certain things, we find that we might be short in certain areas. We might need to learn a thing or two. There's a learning curve and all of that. And it's in that moment that we have to practice this thing called patience. So if you're just tuning in, today is all about patience and asking yourself if you really agree that patience is a key element of any kind of achievement, any kind of accomplishment that you set out to do. Remembering the fact that patience is something that is bitter. It's not sweet. No one likes to wait around and, I'm just waiting around and waiting for that thing to happen, especially now these days where sort of like in an era where we want things to happen as quickly as possible, Instant gratification is what they call it. But patience says something else. It says you should wait. So the first thing is, and this is my first question to yourself, is for that thing you're working on right now, for that thing you're working towards right now, what are the action steps that you're taking at the moment? What are the action steps that you're practicing at the moment? So that's key number one. Number two is that patience is not just the ability again to wait, but the ability to keep a good attitude whilst you're waiting. So we've talked about action, which is the first thing. You have to be doing stuff in alignment with your goal, in alignment with your outcome, in alignment with your vision, in alignment with where you're going. But the second thing is, what is your attitude? Because even if you're sort of like, taking all those necessary action that you need, what if your attitude is not in alignment with where you're going? Because it's never enough to say, okay, I'm doing stuff. Yes, you're doing stuff, but the attitude has to be in alignment with where you want to be, and it has to be in alignment with patience itself. And the attitude in patience requires that you show up positively. You show up positively means that, you're not frustrated, you don't get agitated, you don't get anxious. And I know that sometimes it's never easy to be in that place, but it takes a lot of self-reflection, and it takes, a certain level as well of endurance, of endurance. I just want you to picture an athlete or somebody who is trying to, maybe they're doing some kind of running on the field and all that. They're trying to get to the end, the finish line, It takes endurance, it takes patience to get there. So you're taking action quite all right, but your attitude is equally as important as the actions that you take. Always remember that patience is never just the ability to wait. It's not just saying, okay, I'm just going to hang around, I'm just going to wait, but also is the ability to keep a very, very good positive attitude whilst you're waiting. Hi Irene, good to have you on here. I hope you're well and you're good. Thanks for tuning in. So today I'm asking the question that, do you agree? Is this something that you would say, I think these days we can do without patience? Or do you feel that patience is something that we need whenever we're trying to accomplish a thing or two? For me, I think that patience is something that we cannot do without. I know that it's part of your success journey. It's part of that, race you're running, that accomplishment, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. That element of waiting has to be there. But when we talk about waiting, which is patience itself, it means that you're waiting without getting, frustrated, anxious, agitated, all those sort of attitudes. And so there are three things that I'm bringing your attention to this evening, which is, whilst you're waiting for the outcome of something to happen, whilst you're waiting for, and it might be in any one area of life, whether it's in your health, or maybe it's in your relationships, your finances, your spirituality, or your work or career, the reality remains that number one, you have to keep on doing. So you have to keep on, taking action. So is your action that keeps your faith and your hope. It keeps that going. Hi Dio, good to have you on here. I hope you're well and you are good and you're rocking and rolling on this very lovely, well, it's very dark here, but on this very lovely autumn evening. Okay, so today is all about patience, and there's really, for me, I know that there's really nothing worth your while that you want to achieve without that element of waiting. So patience is all about waiting, but waiting with the right kind of attitude. So like I said, number one point is, whilst you wait, you ensure that you're carrying out the right actions. You're, doing the things that you're meant to do. You're not just folding your arms and waiting and, you know, hoping without doing anything. So you're taking action. You're definitely doing things. Number two is that you're maintaining a very positive outlook, a very positive attitude. Your attitude is so essential. It's very key, very, very important, you know, whilst you're waiting. You don't want to be somebody who is complaining. You don't want to be seen complaining. You don't want to be complaining, you know, especially about when things are not going your way or going how you feel or you envisage that things should go. You also don't want to be somebody, you know, who is negative in the sense of, you know, you don't see, because by the time you go through that mental process of being negative, it pulls you out of that journey, and you probably will, it would even discourage yourself at the end of the day. So patience has a lot to do with keeping the right attitude, taking the right action. Then there's one more thing you have to do whilst you're waiting. Have you ever seen, let's use, it can be any animal, but have you ever seen like an eagle when it's trying to, maybe when it's trying to land or something like that? And have you seen what it does? Or let's imagine a dog who is, you know, you're holding a bone and they're waiting patiently. You know, that's the master. You're the master. You're holding the bone and you're saying to the dog, you know, I'm going to give you this bone, but you tell the dog, you know, sit. It sits. And all these are well-trained dogs now. They're waiting patiently. But where is the eyes of the dog? Where do they keep their focus? That's where I'm going with this. They keep their focus on the goal, which is the bone. The eagle keeps his eyes, the focus, which is his destination, and so on and so forth. We can see this in many instances and examples. The key point here is that whilst you're waiting, point number one is you take action. Point number two is your attitude. Point number three is you keep your eyes focused on your goal, on where you're going and what it is that you're trying to accomplish. I hope this makes a lot of sense, and I hope this helps. That patience is a virtue. It's a key element of success. It's very bitter, but its fruit is sweet. However, for you to get to where you want to go, you need the right actions, the right attitude, and the focus to get there. I hope this helps. I'm going to stop here today. Just keep an eye on your own patience and how you behave, especially your attitude, because aside your action and your focus, your attitude is one of the biggest determining factors as to whether you get there or not, as to whether you accomplish what you set out to accomplish or not. It has a whole lot to do with your attitude. Until next Wednesday, my friends, stay well, be well, and remember, patience is a virtue. Take care, my friends. Bye.